So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Have the Race Gone for the first VRR, virtual reality racing event and race, or not really a race, but it is the final pre-season test session here for the VRR Super GT Season 6 that we, of course, in close partnership with the VRR organizing body, is proud to present to you. It's a pleasure having you along. Fair thinking, of course, you know me, hair and makeup, so important. I have to feel fine before I can do any sort of thing here. And Martin, good evening. Stormpacer, good evening. Tetsu, Gopura, good evening as well. And to everyone out there watching as well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Depending on where in the world you are, I feel like I should cover all aspects because we have a very international grid. Of course, the VRR being an American series, well, that makes a majority of the field, of the participants in the field, of course, American. That said, we do have participants from, well, all over the world, as we have, well, we'll go through the contestants here of this first of two sessions that we'll be running tonight. Of course, I'll take you through the structure of the VRR as we go along. I think there's plenty of stuff to cover, this being one of the biggest leagues organized on GT Planet, and to my knowledge also as well, one of the longest running leagues on GT Planet. So from just on my part, so happy to be able to cover and bring to you the VRR. Been looking to extend our GT Sport coverage a little bit, and we're also looking to extend into some Project Cars 2 broadcasts alongside the TSR boys, but more on that when time comes closer. We're watching a Leadfoot 530 in the out that I am quite familiar with myself under these sorts of circumstances. It's a car that I drove in the last season of the TSR Superclass Super GT, or the multi-class Super GT, the multi-GT as we call it. This being a true Super GT championship as well, being multi-class as well. We'll get to that as we go on as well. And just saying multi-class here, we're seeing the purple NSX of who that is, I actually don't know yet. So this is as new for me as it is for any of you out there watching. I am not really acquainted with too many of the drivers. There are a couple of them that I know from previous events and races, but it isn't really too many. And indeed, Martin, the Audi R8 is a very nice car to drive. And it's also one of the better cars, I think, in GT Sport in terms of being realistic. The way it handles under braking, it really feels like you have some kind of feel with the car that I don't feel necessarily too many of the other cars have as well. It's a little bit hungry, but you can get that to life by short shifting a little bit, although it does take its power all the way to the ragged edge, so you do lose out on a little bit of speed by doing so, but fuel economy actually isn't that bad. It's very strong in a straight line as well. Here we're watching a NASCAR fan, 1400, fastest so far, of course, lining up in the Honda NSX GT500 car. And speaking of cars that I've driven myself in Super GT seasons past, well, I've actually driven this one for a season as well. To great horror, I think it's fair to say I had quite a tough time getting it around safely. Here it is, of course, Street King, the Scotsman, who's making his way through traffic, through the SS here. Oh, such a difficult place in turn to make yourself through. It's really... Oh, was that a little bit of a notch even? So we'll be keeping an eye on the pace. We'll be keeping an eye on who's who and getting to know the different drivers. That's, of course, also a huge part of it for me as well. I say especially for me. I am, of course, here with the thing that should be our first piece of sponsorship, coffee. So important for me to do my work. Oh, as Cross 24 gets a spin on exit from the Casio Triangle, and that is such a hairy exit in these GT500 machines. They really don't like low-speed corner exits. They really like having their downforce to be able to apply the power and get the traction. But on those slow corner exits, and you'll see the same on the exit from the hairpin, they are very difficult to keep under control. Now, of course, Cross fighting with a dirty tire. Let's see, here is Antares, at the moment fastest of the GT300 machines, and a driver that we know here on the channel from well, from his engagements in Clockwork Motorsports alongside Storm Pacer, of course, and having participated, both of them, in the TSR Super Formula. Speaking about Antares, he chooses also to get a big slide on there, so the curse of the commentator. It's live as always. Good evening to T5. The Swedish survivor is amongst us. And he really died. The survivor didn't survive at all on Tuesday. And that beginning, Dan, I think you remember perfectly well what happened. As someone got the start badly wrong, came sliding across at wheel spin just into your path. One of the more dramatic starts we've had on the channel. Two BMWs doing well here early days in the session. So is that IP Psychos or is that I Psychos? I'm just gonna call him or her Psychos. Weather Systems is in the Lexus RCF GT3 car. One thing I really have to say is that the livery game for these strong as something or as anything I've ever seen. It's really it's up there with the best I've seen. And something that we've got in the VRR that I don't think we've had yet on any series we've covered, and something we don't see nearly enough of in in my humble opinion, is women racing. And actually, not only do we have a woman or two, actually, I think, in this in this particular session at all, but the organizer herself, a woman as well. So a pleasure to see. And it just goes to show that there really is no difference after all. And it's something that I kind of have to comment upon, that I've seen a lot of SimRacing broadcasts that kind of had this really man-like feel to it, where it becomes almost caveman-y, dare I say. I think it's a pleasure to be a part of something where you know that it's at least not like this. GT Alex, good evening to you, mate. It's a pleasure to have you along. I hope you've been enjoying your weekend thus far, and I hope that you all will be enjoying what's left of it. I personally have a big day coming up tomorrow as well, because I will be going to commentate live on a real Danish bike race, actually a licensed bike race. I'll be like the old school at the start-finish area commentator, taking all the participants and their families and all whatever fans show up on the day through the events of the different classes, age groups and whatnot. It's gonna be all day from, well, I gotta be out there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's a 45-kilometer ride on my bike to get there. And then I suppose the last of the finishers in the last of the classes will be in by around 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, and then I have another 45 kilometers of riding to do before getting home, and then having to bring you people the NES Desert Duel Challenge tomorrow, of course, tomorrow evening. So that's gonna be a big long day. It's gonna be a lot of talking, and I hope my voice is up for the job. Evening to Mr. Clutch. Yeah, Martin, I know. That high-pitched voice of mine. And thanks, Alex. Yeah, it's I've done it before. It was great fun. I actually did it before getting started with this whole HTRG thing. I believe that I've learned a thing or two over the, well, not an entire year yet that we've done this on the channel, but it's getting closer to it, and I'm looking forward to that, really. Going through the grid still, here is the other one of the two Black Rose Racing entries, and that's another well-known face for continuing watchers of the channel. It's of course Damon of the Starscream Enterprise boys, and he is lining up alongside Angel in the Mercedes AMG GT3, a very nice livery, I have to say, with the watch on the side, sponsored by Swiss watchmaker Tissot. That is a lot of minutes on the lap counter indeed. I don't think we've seen this lap glitch for some time. That's part of the charm with GT Sport. They keep bringing back some of the old bugs from time to time on the updates. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe I might have to rejoin the lobby. I might just have to exit or leave track and then rejoin track to be able to see Damon's time. I'll have to check in here. Oh, here it is from that last lap time, a 1:58. But there is some timing bug here, and I am afraid. Oh, an evening, Fred, dude. A pleasure to have you along. Of course, Fred also one of those participants of Sirius that we've also been well, both driving and broadcasting before, and Fred, definitely a fast gentleman himself. I'm just gonna hop straight back into the lobby and hope that whatever timing bug hit us before is gone by now. A little bit annoying this because I haven't seen this particular timing bug for quite a long time, and to see it reappear. Perhaps Fred dude remembers seeing this seeing this Honda at the back of the GT500 field when you were very much at the front end of affairs, battling with Digby and Welsh. Not even Digby, he was in the 300s. Oh, my memory. So with a little bit of a Honda engine grunt, we get straight back into the action with the expectation of our problem from before being fixed now. Of course, I don't get any lap times when I'm just jumping into the session. And that also means that I'm afraid our timing board has gone as well. It kind of has. It does show the last lap. It doesn't show the best laps. Well, it'll be updated as we run along. Welcome to Angel as well in chat. It's a pleasure to have you. And nice to know that it's always nice to see fresh faces in our leagues and around. Here's a GTP race car in another of the AMG GT3 entries. And talking of entries, well, I think I should be talking a little bit about the entry system here for the VRR Super GT. So in both classes, well, there are two types of entries, and it would be, I think, what you would normally call the full-time entries, of course, as it's called here as well. And then it's called part-time entries, I think, which is a nice thing to call it instead of just calling it reserves, because that sounds so negative in a way. So we're watching race car up through Dunlop here. Street King now at the fastest time, and a purple time up through the first sector. Certainly is going to be that, because it's got held up by one of the BMWs up through the end of the S's into the beginning of Dunlop, now down through the Decners. But anyway, we have 6 full-time GT500 entries. We have 3 part-time entries in the GT500 class, and then in turn we have 9 full-time entries and 5 part-time entries in the GT300s. And what we're seeing here on track at the moment is, of course, a mix of those. Actually, of course, or not of course, but just having a look at it, I think actually most of the drivers on track at the moment is actually full-time entries. So these are some of the drivers that we'll be expected to see over the entirety of the next season, and race in, race out, more or less. Of course, real life does get in the way of racing virtually at times. And now Angel, having jumped in the GT500 machine, and that is... I want to go get... I mean, I have a bottle of Coca-Cola standing here in front of me. That color is the exact same color than a can of Coca-Cola is. And that's just, to me, the best way to present me. After all, perhaps slightly grand capitalist, but still a wonderful tasting product that is Coca-Cola. Oh, Street King is getting it a little off ways. And I think there was a problem on the exit of the S's. Got it loose. But he's back running. NASCAR fan, only 2/10 down, so it's close. And as I say that, NASCAR fan goes 7/10 of a second clear. 1:47.1. Running on the racing soft tires at the moment. And that's, of course, worth noting. Angel slots in. She's just half a second down. That means 2/10 of a second up on Street King. And then we have Weather Systems, fastest of the 300 cars, at least at the moment, and at least according to my timing screen here. Not sure it's actually the way it is. Anyway, good evening to Bambi, good evening to Phil, and to Damon as well. And Phil, yeah, the FIAs at the moment, even if they were broadcast, I think people would be disappointed by the way that drivers are forced to approach these races. And I think this is what the general complaints that are heard all over social media, all over the internet, basically forums, GT Planet, Twitter, and just see Tichney just put out a video today speaking about it, and it's getting to the point where, you know, top drivers are really appealing to Polyphony to please do something about this this extreme tire wear that's killing the racing. And I do understand it, because it's making it very abstract from what racing is in real life, and that's, I know that GT Sport is a simcade game compared to all of the hardcore simulators. That doesn't mean that you should just throw the towel in the ring, so to say, and just accept that. And that's true, Alex. It's certainly everywhere, that video, and rightfully so. I mean, I've never been the most avid FIA participant myself. I've been up there with an S ranking in a single off-season and finishing 7th in Denmark, which in turn, not to say anything bad about us Danes, there just isn't that many of us in the end. Good job, Leadfoot, and welcome. Avoiding the curse of the commentator, that's always a good job on you there. First of the Subarus we've seen running today, I guess this is the EH team, which probably stands for something, but for me, as soon as I saw that gamer tag, I'd be, oh, the team, there, boys. But the EH is on track now. Very aggressive looking, and that's with the rake on the setup. That looks very aggressive in that WRX Group 3 car. Australian drifter is here in the Audi R8 as well. And I have to agree, Phil. First of all, I have to agree on the Coca-Cola livery. I know it's a returning theme for you and I. And actually, I had an idea, and I actually also had, and I couldn't find it just when I was looking for it in our Discord, because it was presented to me somewhere. I couldn't find it, but to make polls, and I was really thinking about this for future broadcasts. At the end of an event, or maybe at the end of an entire series, we should do. Of course, we could do driver of the day votes after each race. That'd be great. And then also like livery of the whatever stuff like that to include you, ladies and gentlemen. See, Alex, that's exactly what I know people are longing for. That kind of full-on racing here, back to Leadfoot and the other of the Audis. Also very nice, the Kenwood livery, I have to say. Here's a formidable GTP Formidable, the American, running the number 79 Lexus. We've seen a number 79 Lexus before in the hands of T5 Black. So this is a combination that we've seen fare well before, and see if it goes the same way around for Formidable. Certainly wouldn't it wouldn't be a surprise if we are to judge by the name, although then would be a lot of Ayrton Sennas in the world of Gran Turismo. And at the moment, in the heavier end of things here, it's GTP race car, Damon, and then it's Weather Systems hanging out in the pit at the moment. And they're behind, I think it's NASCAR fan It's not NASCAR Fan, it's Street King. I'm still getting confused with those two liveries. We're on board with Street Kings, and let's hang out here for a lap around Suzuka. Oh, Street Kings, just as we go on board, gets hit by the curse big time and goes a little bit wide into the hairpin. Enough to get the right front just into the grass, and that removes all sorts of grip. And now having to overtake that Mercedes again. Yet space is given. Evening to Andy's. Pleasure having you along, and hope you're doing well. And Martin, yeah, formidable. It sounds. It does. Je suis formidable. And there was this song that really killed the word, and now it just doesn't sound that good anymore. So currently 3 GT 500 cars, only 3 cars in the 500 class having set times, and fastest of the 300s are still, well, it's still Antares here, the Filipino living in Japan, but I was just about to say racing under an American license. That's of course not what it is, but being written up. Antares also suffering the curse of me. I'm so sorry. I feel like we should go watch someone hanging out in the pits, not to ruin everyone's pace here. An EH team is second fastest in class at the moment, but by a quite massive, just over 1.5 seconds, even just having set a personal best. Green by 0.3 of a second. Formidable is in for some fresh rubber. Of course, serious or lobby settings here. Well, tires and fuel at neutral wear ×1, natural wear we could call it. It's not that it's off, but it's not accelerated. But mind you, these races are properly long. Most of the races in the VRR are 300-kilometer races, for the exception of the 500 kilometers of Suzuka. And so there isn't really any kind of need for accelerated levels. Phil Denty, not the slightest of problems. I think the pleasure is all mine. I hope we can get along to race together soon. I'm not really racing at the moment at all because my still without any working pedals. I've located the issue that made the issue recurring with my G29 pedals. And as I mentioned on stream the other night, the kind man from Germany, that is Dr. Hash, has actually sent me, like from Germany to Denmark, sent me his old G27 pedals so I could flip in the G29 springs and the brake mod, and then I'll be up and running again. And what I gotta make sure this time around is that I don't squeeze the wire while or when I reassemble the pedals. It's not the potentiometer. I thought so at the beginning, but it wasn't. It's what I just mentioned. The wires getting squeezed when you because I had to clean the pedals one time. They were wonky because of the potentiometer. Then I fixed what was essentially only the potentiometer, and then it started having some weirdness to do with the speeder, and I couldn't understand because it kind of also applied more braking input as I applied the accelerator. It was very, very weird. Then actually Trals mentioned something about that I should check the wire. I checked the wire and oh yeah, there it was. Then I tried to be really, really careful about it, reassembling it. I still managed to pinch yet another wire because I actually had an old set of G27s myself. and I used that wire. I destroyed that wire too, and now I'm onto my third wire, and I'm gonna make a groove with a file a groove into the plastic, and just have a space for the wire to be where it will not be pinched. Exactly, Alex. Exactly. Sijan, Crazy John, the Mad Greek. We shall not be spared from the madness of John, even in the VRR. The madness that is John continues and continues to follow us around and to be an ever-present maddening factor. Of course, we love CJ and we love his aggressive racing. Always a guarantee of good action on track when we have CJ racing, a very fast driver, of course, also one of the drivers we will be expecting to see around the sharp end of this series here. So watching E8 team go around third fastest in class at the moment. They're only a 10th down on their personal best. So also just to take you through what's gonna happen tonight, it's not just gonna be all watching a lobby with no racing whatsoever. We are gonna have a couple of sprint races along the way for the drivers, just to get acquainted with one another. I think the first one of those is due to start in around 3/4 time. And then the entire lobby program is set to repeat itself afterwards. And we will, of course, be covering as much as the way as I can bear. So I was just about to say, I have to get up very early in the morning at around 5 a.m. in the morning. So I might have to call it short. Not sure. Just saying that I might have to call it short tonight. But we'll have to see about that anyways. Damon pitting in for fresh tires. And rejoining. And not rejoining anyway. And then back with NASCAR fan. And I have to say that NASCAR fan really has been impressive so far. Still holding a pace that's over a second better than what the other... of course, we're only having Street King's time noted at the moment, but still superior. At least compared to what we've seen from the other... I think, if I'm not completely mistaken, Phil, in this series there actually is penalties for leaving. I've had penalties for that exact same thing in the TSR series, so there's also a thing. If I think it should be a thing in the game, well, yes, but knowing PD, well, they're not going to add that. I think it's simply not... but I'd like him to add completely manual pit stops, but then again, wanting that, go play some more serious Sims. Project Cars is difficult, then jump to PC. Found out that just how much fun it is playing Assetto Corsa. But that, of course, is also in its own way a little bit, or actually a lot more inaccessible than, for instance, GT Sport, which is, of course, the beauty, the absolute beauty of GT Sport. It's how it's balanced to allow both players with pads and wheels to actually compete against each other, closely matched, and that's something that not too many other games will allow. Certainly not when you get further towards the simulation end of things than where we are. with GT Sport. Evening to the Yogi Bear. Pleasure having you along, and I hope that you, the wife, and the junior bears are well as well. Of course, Yogi Bear, or Y Bear, is by now a seasoned veteran, I'd say, of the NES, and a long-time friend of the channel. NASCAR fan, improves yet again by 3.5 tenths. And that means the Purple Town, I don't know what that town is, but the Purple Time certainly is down to a 1:46.3 by now. That is very respectable after all. Street King also on a green time. Of course, the main reason that we do see times falling at this point of the race, or at this point of this session, is of course that all the drivers have been starting out on maxed out fuel, and they are now getting down through the tanks. They are getting lighter, and of course they're gonna be changing to fresh rubber along the way as well. So Bear, is it also early morning for you now, or is it now or is it just a little bit, or is it late in the night for you? It's like late in the night. It's like 12 a.m. for you. Okay, still sleeping. Let's hope they sleep through the night. There's a little traffic for Antares. Let's see how the leading GT300 makes a lap look around Suzuka. We're halfway through. We're actually a little bit more, because we're into the final sector almost here. In through spoon corners. Look at Antares here, really seeming to employ a lot of slide in the driving style, using the slide of the rear end to get the car to turn, and that is efficient, not only to make the car turn if it can be done stably. Of course, it also helps front tire wear, which is a huge thing in these front-engined GT3 machines, especially. But I have to say, Antares looking very well poised here. Wangcam the Wangcam reveals that who is that in that Audi in behind? I think that's Drifter trying to hang on through the S's. Look at the turn-in of this Beamer. It's like the setup is working well. Oh, just a lift up through Dunlop. A little too late on the exit or entrance, perhaps. Now Dunlop, if taken perfectly, so I believe. I'm of course not sure how it is in the M6. The junior mate, although it's junior, it's still a big boy. But under the impression that Dunlop should be flat out. Phil. That's a good one. Currently 3 cars in the pits, of course, under no certain pressure to keep running this race car. Let's have a look at the timing sheet. So still over a second between the two NSXs. I have to suppose that a NASCAR fan has a setup that really is working. Could also just be that Street King isn't completely satisfied with this, or that he just mightn't be completely comfortable with the car yet. The NSX or any group. I was about to say Group 3 car, any Group 2/GT500 car, of course, always quite the mouthful to handle, very difficult to drive. Still Antares fastest of the 300 machines with Psycho second. Then it's EH in third, at least of the cars running at the moment. Oh, and Cross 24, something that I hadn't noticed yet. It's how it's the Coca-Cola Zero version of Angel's GT 500 machine. That's a nice detail, and it certainly looks the part. Are we seeing a little bit of connectivity issues, at least net coding issues? Something that I've been wanting to check out and to make sure that wasn't too bad, and it doesn't. We haven't seen anything of it really yet, and it also seems like it isn't that bad for Cross 24. Would just hope for it to be something that we would, well, of course, hopefully we won't get any problems with it under race broadcasting. Cherry Coke livery, oh, don't even. And yeah, NASCAR fan, it's really 46.3. I don't remember what kind of times I've been putting in, but do also mind you, the BOP is a little different from usual, and that's actually something I'll just look up for you, because of course I cannot remember everything. I'm just looking to find it, just a sec. There it is. Yeah, so the NSX running 90% power, 86% weight, and that's 543 brake horsepower, and that's 1,989 pounds, which is not something I'm too familiar with. Is what is that in a measuring unit that I can understand? I'm metric, goddammit. Oh well, Angel already being way ahead of us there, Phil. Oh, gotta hop in to check that. Oh, I forgot. But that's Stella, the half the race dog. When I whistle like that, she gets all excited, and I do. I mean, I try to remember not to whistle like that. But yeah. Not orange vanilla. Orange vanilla, I don't know orange vanilla. Evening to Sugar Rush, Wake CU. The Candyman. Orange vanilla is an inside joke. Good, that's why I don't get it. May I get your inside joke now, Tetsu? Boom, boom, boom. Of course, folks, feel free to leave a like if I, in the slightest way, entertain you here on our Saturday night broadcast. And if you generally like what we do here on the channel, I was just about to say, don't forget to subscribe, but I have the feeling that by now I've told most of you people who are our lovely regular watchers to subscribe a million times, and I get the feeling that one day I'm gonna wake up to 400 unsubscriptions for saying it just that one time too many. And thanks to Angel for pointing out 35 more minutes in the morning session, then there will be a sprint race, then an afternoon/evening session, and then another sprint race due to come. Oh, what I think the optimum time is for a 500 car, I actually don't know because of the BOP. I think it's a little hard to... But looking at how a NASCAR fan is going at it, you're just getting wide on that turn 2 apex. Grabs a nice line up through the S's, at least the first part. It's just about keeping it tidy here and holding the car right to be able to maximize speed up through Dunlop. A little lift. But I think that those low 46s are definitely... Might be able to see someone creeping into the 45s with a low tank of fuel. You would be able to perhaps see some aliens go into the high 44s, maybe even on this BOP. But since I haven't really been able to try myself, now due to the lack of a working steering wheel for me, and I'm absolutely crap with the pad, has to be said. So it's not going to be too much of that for me. 45.5 is currently the optimum for Angel. And I also wouldn't be surprised to see Fred Dude step into the 45. CJ driving in the GT300s. Well, knowing you, CJ, you almost always opt for the fast cars. So say I'm a little bit surprised to see that as well. How will you manage with the faster traffic? I'm interested to see that. And it's only due to the fact that I know that you like to get stuff over with and over stuff in traffic and all that stuff. Anyways, actually I guess racing the faster cars and them do actually, in turn, actually require more patience than racing in the slower classes. So perhaps we'll actually see the GT300 fitting CJ even better than the 500s. Evening to Vortex Racing. It's a pleasure to have you along. No, NASCAR fan keeping it within the lines. But just for a little Super GT nostalgia, I was playing Gran Turismo 2 lately on my... I was lucky enough to find a working PS1 emulator for my old laptop that it's actually able to run. My old laptop is crap, but it would actually run this PS1 emulator, which means I've been enjoying Gran Turismo 2 with my old PS3 joypad actually set up through the Scarlet Crush Productions DS3 server tool, and driving those old GT500 machines, the JGTC machines as they were called back then, the Japanese Grand Touring Car Championship. Man, great cars back then, the R33 Skyline, the old Supra, and the different versions of that Supra, both inline 4-cylinder 2-liter turbocharged and became V8, later V8 naturally aspirated. We had the Honda NSXs as well. And I have to say, I'm waiting for PD to actually add that generation of 90s GT500 machines to the game, and especially, and if they would, a couple of the GT300s as well, please. The Silvias, the old RX-7, the RE I don't remember what it's actually called. The GT300 RX-7, you know what I'm on about. Exactly, the Denso livery Supra, that's exactly what I'm on about. The Unesia Jack Skyline, the Sixel Skyline, the Pensoil Nismo machine, the Mugen Castrol NSX, certainly not bad. Ooh, NASCAR fan, that's not where the grip is for braking. But managed to keep that under control, that's well played in the end, well done. Here's Street King having to negotiate some traffic. Of course, these practice sessions being, well, practice/test sessions being an important part in the drivers getting to know one another and getting to grips and to terms with how the cars are in traffic. Because of course one thing is just going about for yourself, trying to find a good working pace, race pace, qualifying pace, whatever. Always entirely different when it comes to actually racing in these multi-class races. We had Fred Dude joining, and it means we've had the first of the non-Honda GT500 machines on the track at the moment. Though we're seeing a bit of Wake knows about this Belgian warp speeding going on here. A little warping about there from Fred Dude. And of course that is a shame because it makes it very difficult to see what Fred is actually doing. Antares is still the fastest GT300 by 2 seconds. And I also just have to say that watching Antares go around, well, it certainly gave the impression that it was a very, very well poised and a very fast, aggressive M6 that we were watching. Angel has rejoined in the Sherry Coke livery, so there it is. In full vision, Phil. And I have to say, Angel is a damn good job of matching the different nuances of the Coca-Cola bottles, cans, marquees. And that's just my word. Just my words, Phil. Still the same bit of lagging issues, I'm afraid, for Fred Dude here, at least on my screen. We'll have to see if there are any other reports of lag. It also might just be on my part that I have to reset the internet cache. And yeah, Wake, you are the Warp Speed veteran himself. The creator, the inventor of Warp Speed. Indeed. I think it is all that Coca-Cola talk. Time for ASMR. Actually might even be better ASMR SM. This might be better SM. Yes. Yes. watching Cross go around in the Cola Zero GTR. And did I actually say that it was the first Honda, or the first non-Honda, when we had Fred Dude? Well, that's a bunch of nonsense if I've ever if I've ever heard any like that. But of course we've had both Angel and Cross 24 go around the track before that. Angel is very close between Angel and Cross 24, both of them within a tenth of a second. A bit of warping going on for Cross. That's a big... oh. And NASCAR fan just still improving down to 1:46.1, so getting closer to the 45s. And we are expecting to see the fastest GT500 cars break into. And this is what I mentioned here before, because less than a quarter of a tenth between Cross 24 and Street King, and in turn not even a tenth Street King and Angel, and then Fred Dude at the moment too. Well, that's now 4/10 down. Oh wait, that's a good one. Wait, does that mean you can use the same milk for like four portions of cereal? Because all the milk goes out through the fork. Should ban myself for bad humor. Ledford is third fastest, at least of the GT300 machines that are running at the moment. So I just happen to know that Antares is the quicker of those cars, at least for this session. It'd be nice to also in turn have something to actually compare the times with that we'll be seeing in the next season. Oh yeah, and other news, I actually got a hold of a working DS4 today. I found one on the used pages of what used to be the back pages of the newspaper, but well, it's just an internet page nowadays. But like, you know, one of those forums where you buy used stuff, and there's no way I was gonna pay the full price for a new DS4, because that's quite frighteningly close to 100 euros, or yeah, around $100. I think almost like $92. I would believe that to be in US money. That's quite expensive. I think you Americans would agree to that as well, because I have the feeling that a DS4 is somewhat cheaper in other places. I know at least I had some conversations about the price of a PS4 Pro at some point, where people were absolutely stunned, shaking their heads of the price of a PS4 Pro in Denmark. For Porsches, I said portion. The vier portionen. I don't know if that's what it's called in Flams. Sorry if it's not. I have Wake and Fred screaming at their screens. Godverdomme! Fred Dude's gone second fastest, and Fred Dude is the first one to get within a second of that car, that time set by a NASCAR fan. So although we can't really see how well Fred is doing because of the warping, it's kind of hard to judge exactly how it's going. Antares, I have to say it's a pretty damn fine job you're doing of keeping yourself to the fire, keeping the consistency very well on point, and still being close to a second faster than Psychos, who's the second fastest running GT300 car at the moment. EHT team in third, Formidable fourth, it's Leadfoot fifth, it's Drifter sixth, Wraith Car seventh, and then Damon and GT Racer hanging out in the pits at the moment. Here is GT Racer 22 joining the track, and this is the first of the Lexuses, the 2016 Lexus RCF GT500 machines. Of course, Lexus, a manufacturer that is present in both classes. And Antares, I know I have a series that I'm doing, or it's not really a series, it's like a monthly race with a monthly Group 4 race, 1.5 hours. Also organized on GT Planet. It's by Rinsky and a gang of his. A nice bunch of mostly North American lads. There we also have race start that's at 2 a.m. in the night for me, and that's I know all about it. It is difficult, but it's also I feel like I'm a teenager again. In those early teen years where you're not allowed to stay up all night, you do it anyways. It's just so much fun. Yeah. And by the way, I have looked at the Apex Endurance League calendar storm, and I am beginning to take note of which weekends to put in. And I think we should have a closer chat about that soon, actually, because the time is nearing. Most certainly it is. And Antares, when I really just have to stay awake, I just go for coffee. It seems to work wonders for me, better than I guess any energy drink really. My stomach gets a little upset from Red Bulls, and I just can't stand looking at the Monster can, so I wouldn't ever buy one because it just doesn't appeal to me, I think. And we actually see the pace being picked up across the GT500 field here late in the session. Cross 24 now also getting close to that second, and all the other running GT500s are above that and almost within a second of each other. We've got Angel on a solid set of laps. Let's go on board with the series organizer in the Sherry Coke, or at least at the moment in the Sherry Coke. She will be running I think the regular. Oh, the curse of the commentator strikes Angel again. I am so sorry. I shall immediately go watch someone else. And Antares curfewed. Did I ever get a curfew? I might have. I mean, I should have gotten. I guess harsher parents than mine would have gotten me many curfews. My parents are both a couple of old hippies, so I guess I drew a lucky card on that point when I was a young rascal. Of course, by now I'm getting closer to my 30s than I am to my teen years, so the only one to give me a curfew nowadays would be my girlfriend, and I tend to keep things at a peaceful relationship here in the house. No, with all fun aside, I have a wonderful girlfriend. We've been together for over 9 years now, so I think it would be fair to say that we know each other pretty well by now over the years. She knew that she signed up for a weirdo. So, I think I've surprised her with a lot of stuff in the end anyway. Stay awake all the time. It's been used before, that joke, Wake. It's like a vegetable out the fridge. Or a Ben and Jerry's out the freezer. Just doesn't stay that fresh. Oh, that was me from the pointy end of things. And Taurus is hanging out in pits. Leadfoot is just leaving. They're ghosting into the side, rather just into the entire car of GT Racer. Still looking to get... Well, that wasn't GT Racer at all. I thought it was GT Racer, but had me excused on that one. It most certainly looked like the GT 500 Lexus. As GT Racer is approaching race car, that is, of course. Now Wangcam shall show us, oh, it's the outside way around, 200R, easy peasy. And also something that I know from experience, I think it's not actually that bad in these cars, but from racing in LMP 1s and GT3s around here, it is a tricky place. It is a tricky place to have this multi-class traffic, especially because it is a track that really, well, it's a narrow one all the way around, pretty much, and it really comes down to there being a mutual understanding between the drivers of the different classes of how this overtaking is going to happen optimally. And if that mutual understanding isn't there, well, that's when the incidents start happening. Phil, Jesus. That's NASCAR fan yet again improving, and by now we are well into those. It's hardly even the high 45s. Oh, it is the high 45s, but we're getting closer to what could be called the mid 45s. Let's see what this one will be. It is going to be a new fastest lap from NASCAR fan, and that's a 1:45.6. So we are getting very much into that optimal lap territory, as NASCAR fan was in here in chat mentioning earlier. The car is absolutely dialed, and I think this is proof of what we're seeing with some very fast pace. Now yet again putting themselves over a second ahead of the nearest class competitor. Here is race car, also on a personal best, but do seem to be a little at the moment. His way through 130R down to the Casio triangle. That's a hard braking zone over the curbs. Then keep the car stable to maximize exit speed. And then that little slide through the right-hander that certainly is there, but it's not a harsh right-hander at all, but nevertheless. And Alex, very true. could I say turn 1 and 2 as well? Like on the entrance to turns 1 and 2, it's not really a good place to overtake as well, because the slower cars that have less downforce tend to use the entirety of the track, and that really can get you caught up. Of course, there is that space in between the exit of turn 2 and up to the S's where it is possible to get past, squeeze past. But yeah, definitely the S's, the worst part of the track whatsoever, because you really need to be one cold bastard. Oh, as there's a little bit of a misunderstanding between the Audi of, was that EH team running around there? It certainly is. No, that's of course Psychos in running second with the Minkel livery. Second in class, but 0.9 of seconds behind Antares, and almost got it completely wrong with NASCAR fan before. Well, that wasn't NASCAR fan, was it? Here's Fred Dude. He's all over the place at the moment. And is on his way into Spoon, mindfully getting out of the way. The commentator's curse. Yeah, that is. I guess that's it. Explained from the driver's perspective. I've just seen it happen so many times. And it does, in turn, feel a little bad at times to be the one bringing the curse onto people, crushing the concentration, sending people all sorts of directions off track. Street King very close to the time of Fred Dude, and NASCAR fan really stepping on it here in the final minutes of the session. Look at that, a 145.3. So that is definitely that's on a very empty tank of fuel as well. That's as an absolutely no fuel left in the car, zeroing out in fuel, but still, well, it's nice to see the potential. 145.3, and NASCAR fan continuing to want to put in and practice with the qualifying pace, and gets out right behind Street King. Let's go on board with Street King up through the S's. The Scotsman. I was just about to say, if I'm not completely mistaken, and then I saw the helmet, and that of course confirms what seems to be a proud Scotsman indeed. And just to mention on Scotland, what a wonderful place. I really have it as one of my places to move if I were told, okay, you have to move somewhere else, I'd say Scotland. Because I'm used to the dreary weather already from Denmark. It's not really a change. It's all really similar to what we have over here. And as there's a little bit of contact between NASCAR fan and Street King, as I'm beginning to tell stories. That's perhaps what's going on, causing the drivers to lose concentration just for a second. And that's all it takes. But anyway, Scotland, wonderful place, beautiful, beautiful nature, beautiful countryside, and wonderful, warm, kind, sweet people that at least pretty much all I've met those 2 times I've been in Edinburgh. And that's a good rule to have. A good rule of thumb, Angel, is just to be predictable. So if you choose to, because it's always, I've done this myself, I've raced several seasons of both NES and also a multi-GT, the Super GT Championship by TSR. I've also done quite a bit of multi-classing, and it is really true there isn't one thing you can say that, oh, this car has to dodge offline at all, because that is gonna, if that's the rules you go by, it's gonna create some dodgy situations in some weird kinds of, when the circumstances are a little strange and such. So being predictable for the slower car especially is the key. And then of course it's the responsibility of the faster car to make it through safely. And that is what it is, that's a whole other story, but it does really take two to tango to make a safe pass in traffic. And especially with the length of these races in the VRR, it is a grueling task. And I did see the final race in the Endurance Championship, the VRR Endurance Championship, as it was streamed by some of the drivers. But there it did seem like, by far, most of the drivers have a very good sense of how to behave in traffic. Fred dude still with the lag. Good gap down to GT Racer, sitting 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds down on NASCAR Fan at the moment. Yates team is, well, are they second in class, or having a little bit of a hard time actually? I think they actually are second in class at the moment. In the WRX, the number 212 WRX. Formidable in the 79 Lexus. GT300 Lexus, of course. Then, of course, in the Samsung AMG, it is a GTP race car. Then in I was just about to hop down to Damon, but just hopped off track. So we're on board with GTP race car. And that's through 130R on the way into the Casio Triangle. One of the brake markers has been hit and is now sitting in the middle of the track. And I'm not sure everybody sees it that way, because I've seen before that there are sometimes irregularities in who sees which trackside obstacles and on the track and so on. But if it was me, I think I would just slowly drive up to it and give it a nudge, remove it. But of course, we aren't seeing any real racing so far yet. Now, just about a minute to go until we get the first of 2 sprint races of the evening running. And well, that's a good question from Ledford Angel. Will there be formation laps for the sprint races, or will it just be standing start, or will it in turn just be grid starts? Grid starts, there it is. Quick on the keyboard. As quick on the keyboard as Angel is quick on track. I could do the typing sound, but a lot of stuff would happen, so I'm not gonna. But what you would notice is that the amount of brainwashy flickering through all the cars very fast, and the thing that was caused by my old malfunctioning DS4, it's no longer happening. It's no longer happening. And that's nice. That's nice for me, and it's nice for your eyes as well. So it's time for the GT300 sprint race. So of course all the 500 machines leave track immediately, and those drivers who are signed up, but I don't think anyone will be signed up for 2 classes here. The question is, will some of these drivers be joining in this race anyways? Well, I actually don't know. It'll have to be one of those time will tell things. And Tetsu, I think NASCAR dude was on low fuel when doing that 45-3. So all GT5, all GT500. Okay, that's a recurring thing from when we did the TSR Super GT with me getting the classes wrong. I swear I'll do my absolute best not to mash him up and get him wrong. But all GT300s are now being called to the track. Well, that's close indeed to have all GT500s within 0.4 of a second on full fuel. That bodes very well for the racing to come. Angel. Yeah, Stormpage, so that's CJ in a nutshell. If he appears, it's because of Olympiacos playing the cup final, the Greek cup final. Is mad about football, and no, it's not called soccer, it's called football. There he is. Talking about the sun, well then it shines, but it's called football in Europe because over here American football is called American football, and when played without protective gear it's called rugby. Confusing, isn't it? Another riot. Yeah, I've just made myself hugely unpopular from the very first broadcast. Is there a party? GT Racer, a party like in a... I'm not having any kind of party, but perhaps you're not asking me. Perhaps you're asking someone else. Perhaps you're asking Angel. I get the feeling you're actually asking me, Angel. Voice chat, yeah. There is not a party. Oh. So no party people, as said by Africa Bombada on the intro of what's that song even called? Oh, that's embarrassing that I have it right on my tongue. Anyway, we have the GT300 sprint race about to get rolling. The party don't start till John walks in. That's when it gets crazy. Anyway, 15 minutes of racing to come for the GT300s. It's a 9-car grid, and that would be from a normal maximum of 10 starters in the GT300 class. Now here they're off, and the question is, do I need to Switch keyboards is on. Why is the... Oh, there it is. Oh god. Well, a little bit of keyboard issues for me there in the start, but Drifter got brilliantly away to take the lead in front of Leadfoot. The Mad Greek, that's CJ up into 3rd position with Antares 4th. Then it's Psycho's 5th, EH team in 6th position, Race Car 7. It's Formidable in 8th, and down in 9th position, well, it is Damon in the Tissot AMG. Hang up with the leaders, and let's join the number 25 Audi R8 of CJ. As he's really pressuring Leadfoot, who in turn is right on the bumper of Drifter as well. This time CJ getting a little bit of a run, but he's on the outside up towards the hairpin. It's gonna be a different maneuver for him. Let's see, can he make it stick? We might get the run here down through 200R now. That's an absolute snake of people, snake of cars that's developing. Antares, the quickest driver in the first morning session here, as it's called, well, sitting 4th at the moment, about a second in front of Psychos, and now Drifter still defending now from CJ, who got his way in front of Leadfoot. Planet Rock with the Soul Sonic Force. Thank you, Phil. Planet Rock, of course. See, as I'm not that I'm old, and I'm not even old enough to be. I was born in 1990, so oh, CJ causing a little bit of a pile up between 3 of the 4 top runners there. A little bit of a touchy moment, and a little bit of touching as well. I think Psychos is into the pits to fix whatever damage that was picked up. A little bit of, yeah, that's rear left suspension for Psycho's EH team in the pits as well. The Tetsu did call it Storm Pacer. It's absolutely true. The party doesn't start until CJ walks in. Let's see, did CJ pick up any damage from that little bit of contact there? Well, he certainly did. And the question is, well, so did Antares. 12 minutes of racing left, so it should be possible to deal with this damage. Of course, anyone choosing to pit in here will see their chances evaporated. Oh, that's a little bit of sliding going on in there behind. And now CJ trying to move up, and he's on the outside on the way down to Spoon. Drifter defending, but not defending well enough, and CJ with an insistent move to take the lead. Let's have another look at that overtake from the Mad Greek himself to take the lead of the race here. That's a brilliant move indeed. Keeping it all within the limits. Win 3 racy Audis or the Bimmer Boy. Well, the Bimmer Boy is now up into 2nd position. What the... Oh, what happened to Drifter there? That's what happened to Drifter on the entrance. Oh, on the entrance. Absolutely binning it. Oh, that's poor luck. Binning it on the chicane entrance. Breaking in the... Well, I suppose just breaking in the grass. That's certainly not the fastest way around. Now Antares trying to claw back the advantage. We know from practice that Antares certainly has his car perfectly set up for this track. It was so much faster than everyone else. Look at this Damon up into 3rd position now, running cleanly in the Tissot AMG. Now defending from Formidable. It's Leadfoot in the 5th position, I'm sorry. Race car 6th. Psycho's out from his damage fixing pit stop. He's running 7th at the moment. And then Drifter rejoining in 8th. And then in 9th position it is EH team who's had a terrible race so far. Well, let's jump back with the CJ and Tari's in the lead battle. CJ now trying to claw out the advantage. It's hovering around a second. But not to fight CJ, yeah, that... Now here, look, it's still close between the two leaders. Damon is not exactly on point with his pace, although keeping it very consistent so far and defending well from Formidable, who is in the slipstream. And in turn, we would expect the Lexus RCF to have a little bit of more grunt compared to the Mercedes AMG GT3 car. Let's go on board with the Formidable, GTP Formidable sitting fourth. Oh, as Damon gets it a little bit wrong, almost opened the doors on the inside of turn 2. As he gets the left rear tire off track on the corner entrance, gets a little loose, but just manages to keep it all composed enough to not open the door for Formidable, and that's good stuff indeed. Let's go on board with the Wang cam from Damon's car. The number 84 Black Rose Racing entry. Defending well here through the Deckners, getting the exit clean. So still just status quo as they head down towards the double corner that is Spoon, but it is to be taken as one long double apexer. It is so hard to get it right. Although it is also in turn one of the corners I feel like in, well, all of the motorsports world in general that feels the absolute best when you nail it. Because it's like getting a long shot right when you play football. Or as Danny Dyer would say, football. No, football. I'm Danny Dyer. This is a real football factor. I'm already embarrassing myself. Anyways, I was saying about something completely different. It's like getting a long shot straight that just creeps into the corner of the goal frame. As you just aim through that first apex, just set the car wide, brake softly to bring it in through, and then when you aim, just get it go right. It just feels so good. Indeed. Let's go on board with Formidable yet again, as he's very close to the rear end of Damon. This is the fight for third position here in the sprint race. We've got 6.5 minutes of running remaining here, and so far it's been brilliant defending from Damon. It's not really able to shake off Formidable so far, but here, oh, that was just a laggy moment there, as it looked like Formidable just got hit by some terrible understeer. Did lose a little bit of time, but certainly wasn't that bad as I thought. This time, however, I think it's full-fledged disaster for Formidable, who sends it right into the dust here through the first Deckner. Let's have another look at that one. All looks mighty fine. Down through Dunlop, just outbrakes himself completely. And that's poor luck indeed, because I think, well, with Psychos up into fourth, I think it must be that battle for third position as well over with now. And Tara is getting very close to the rear end of CJ here, and the battle for the lead is, well, all open yet again. You really think that, Phil? Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It's just I think it's my really poor Danny Dyer, but I'm just trying my best. He's such a tool, though. I've just been enjoying his documentaries on real life hooligans so much, because the real life football factories. It's fucking amazing. Oh yeah. in the end, much love to Danny Dyer. Entertaining man, what can I say? We're following Noir Antares as he gets all close to the way and all close to the bumper, I was going to say, of CJ in front. Wang came from the V10 powered Audi R8. It's got a lovely scream about it, that engine. Oh, CJ with a little bit of a slide, but manages to keep it. And this is a style of racing we know. Look at this from Antares. He's so close now. Just trying to find a way through. Just so difficult. Brakes early. Into Deckner 1. Aims for the good exit out of Deckner 2. CJ just maximizes all track space available to him. Now braking into the hairpin. To see yet again Antares. He tries to get the run out of the... Oh, a little bit of oversteer. That's gonna impede his run this time around and make it difficult. Storm Danny Dyer is a distant relative of yours. Right now, fam. Oh, I gotta love this community with I gotta say, this community we've drawn together somehow. You wonderful bunch of people. You've really enriched my life, I have to say. Could sound like a sad thing. Oh, what do you do on a couple of weeknights a week? Oh, I sit at home and speaking to my television in front of a microphone and the 15 to 30 people watching. But it's so much fun with you guys in chat. Alright, Gaffner. Indeed. Oh, time to concentrate on the action. With 2 laps of racing left, it's still CJ just holding on to it, but he's absolutely suffering here on his way through turn 1. Then this time it might be an open door almost, as Antares tries to get the nose up. And the thing is that once you start going too wide into the chicanes, well, there isn't really any fighting back. You have to accept it as the car being, well, someone else sticking your nose up on the outside. You just have to accept it and give that space. And anything can happen once you try to go too wide up through those chicanes, be it good or bad stuff as well. Psycho's running 3rd at the moment with Formidable in the Lexus. Best place of the Lexuses here in 4th position. Oh, it's all too good to be true, isn't it? Race car in 5th position. Oh, and what happened to... I think it was Damon that lost it? Because Damon's on his outlap now. So he's been in and he's had some kind of trouble. Oh, poor luck. Damon was looking so good earlier on. Drifter also got it wrong, and at some point, same goes for EH team there. Now it's Leadfoot close to, or pretty close to race car. Should be able to close that gap if he strings together a really good final lap. Although saying that, it is at the moment race car extending ever so slightly. Message of John getting really loose up in front. I have to check that out. Is it here you're talking about? No. No. No, I must have missed it. Hey, Cliche! Welcome, mate. I hope you're enjoying your weekend, and I am doing very well myself. I'm enjoying things as they are. And this battle for the lead between CJ and Antares is certainly delivering on the action that we've been waiting for, the pure racing action here. CJ throwing it into the first Deckner, then aiming for exit speed on the second. Oh, there he goes wide. Is it wide enough to really impede his run? Doesn't look like it. And that's good to hear, Cliche. And it wasn't Spoon. And that's, of course, why I wasn't able to rewind far enough to actually catch it. Still CJ leading, and that's time out here, so this is gonna be the final lap. Spoon left. Spoon 130R and the Casio triangle left. It's gonna be now or never. If it's gonna be for Antares, but Antares certainly, you'd believe him to have the run here. Come on, get in that slipstream, stay there for long enough. Doesn't they see me just close enough? He needs to get the racing line here. Oh, and he goes really wide, and I think I saw that coming for one. And that is gonna, I think, settle it in favor of CJ the Mad Greek, who's gonna take the victory for this GT300 sprint race from this final preseason test. He takes it just over a second in front of Antares, and coming home for third, it is the Italian Psychos, also in the BMW. So Audi in front of two BMWs, then it's Formidable in his Group 3 Lexus coming home for fourth position. Race car there side by side with left foot through 130R. A little bit of a tap. Left foot coming back to it maybe, but thinking better of it, that would have been an absolute suicide move coming from the outside with low grip on the tires. It seems race car is going to defend fifth position from Leadfoot in the EH team, right behind in the Subaru for seventh position. Yeah, I agree, Phil Denti. Although it has to be said that I think GT Sport is doing pretty well in its own way, to my knowledge, to maximize the potential of broadcasting Project Cars 2. Although I'm not completely sure because I haven't really dug into it yet. But it seems like it's a big plus being two guys on the job with Project Cars 2, which in turn here for GT Sport, it's kind of set up for you to be able to do it alone. So that is a little bit of an advantage. Although I'm not really sure. It depends. It all depends on whether or not it's actually possible to bind the different camera angles or the different views and so on, overlays and stuff to different keyboard keys in Project Cars. I haven't been there yet. I'll try it out somewhere soon. Anyways. Good battle, CJ and Antares, really good racing there, it has to be said. And that of course means that it'll be time for the second 1.5 hour practice session now, and then at the end of that another 15-minute race. So I guess a short break while the drivers participating in session 2 are joining the lobby, and then as I said, another 1.5 hours of practice and another race to come at the end of that. Thanks Cliche, I appreciate the commentary big time, you know I do. And I'm really thinking like I wanna first of all, we're actually getting closer to getting a new working PC up and running, because Trals, my man Trals, co-owner of this channel here, is close to maybe getting a new one, then I can perhaps overtake his old one for a very small fee. And that would allow me to get the capture card running, or get a hold of a capture card, buy a capture card, stick it in the PC, and then actually get up and get the stream going through the PC. That would enable me to do so much more than I am able to right now. I'm thinking stuff like recording a little guided lap of car track combination. And I could have driver doing it, or I could do it myself. and can play it from the PC. And of course, all kinds of track overlays, championship standings overlays, information about lobbies with lobby settings and all that stuff. All stuff in Overtake. Hashtag RealBurp. That thanks Phil as well. As a service for streamers? Oh, as like you mean as a service for, say, some dude streaming GT Sport and organizing some series, and then say, hey, I can. That would be an idea. That would be an idea. But what was I was gonna say was I wanted like expand into something more simmy, into something I'd like to do some commentating on racing in like real sims, and that means of course either Assetto Corsa or Assetto Corsa Competizione, but my computer is not going to be able to run that, so it's going to be the old AC, it's going to be iRacing, or it's going to be R Factor 2, and I'm going to be doing a little looking into it. I already own Assetto Corsa, so yeah. It's a good idea, Cliche, if you wanna... If you're looking for work as a manager, I'll offer you 10% of whatever we can scrape together. Oh well, I think second session is well up and running, and we should probably join the action as we have now NASCAR fan on track already. Same goes for Antares, Street King, Drifter, and new to the session is the Monster liveried number 808. So a very hip-hoppish, a very hippity-hoppity number for Flash Sweden. Showing out the drift skills in the Monster liveried BMW M6. Of course, Fred Dude, CJ also joining us now, although both of them are parked in the pit at the moment. Evening to Maverick. I hope you are enjoying your weekend, my good friend. Certainly am enjoying mine. And I'm here in the most comfortable commentary booth in the world. I'm not sure it is that actually, but it is very comfortable here in my Chasillon equipped sofa where I can stretch my legs. And it comes equipped with a big table that has space for chat, reading, PC, several kinds of soda, cups with water, coffee, soda, DS4, keyboard. Oh yeah, getting the beers out. I had some beers after work yesterday, and that completely blew. I had 4 beers after work, and I haven't had beers in a long time. I felt that. And I used to drink a lot more when I was younger. Do we need to add someone to find the room? You should. Do you know pants? What do you mean? What do you mean, Cliche? I need to make it. I need to get a webcam and sit here in a shirt and tie, or what? Or do I need to take my pants off? I don't get it. What do I gain from getting my pants off? I don't know. Is NASCAR fan with an early fast lap 147.8 2.2 seconds better than Street King at the moment. And Antares right back in the fast action though. Where he left from the last section. Been running so strong there. Drifter about to complete his first lap. Racer 22 is close to it as well in the GT 500 Lexus. Let's go on board with Racer 22. We haven't been so yet. Let's wait through the Casio triangle. And then turns 1 and 2, perfect exit. Oh, due to my pants like that. Oh, no, I do get it now. I've been sitting here for too long now. At times, even though I feel like I'm quite fluent in English, I have to be honest. I do feel like I get most jokes and not too much stuff flies straight over my head like that. For once it happens that, you know, that picture of a meme where there's a picture of a little stick man and then something, and with the joke going over the head. Yeah. Of course Bill got it. And Wake, you should add BRRT_Angel on PSN. That should allow you to find the room. We've had Fred Dude putting in the quickest time with a 1:46.6, and that's on a full tank of fuel, so that's a pretty strong pace from the Belgian in the number 11 car. I'm wondering if they're still sponsored by the More Than Pink. And yes, they are. That's of course on the roof, I think. Still a bit of a lag there from Fred Dude. Such a shame that we can't enjoy his driving qualities. NASCAR fan about to improve up by a 10th. Coming into the final sector, that's basically just the Casio triangle, 130 on the Casio triangle, and then that final run up. That's creeping into the high 46s as well. 0.3 of a second down on Fred Dude, and then Street King just struggle a little bit with the pace. Best lap is 1.5 seconds off of the quickest at the moment, and then we have the Flash 05 differs to the Swedish Flash, so there are two Flashes. But here in the Red Bull Nissan GTR, it's Australian Flash 05, and somewhere, would have to believe at least somewhere, is Flash Sweden. He's not on track at the moment. And that's GT Racer getting past. And he's getting past Drifter, of course. That's a massive improvement. 1.7 seconds for GT Racer, now within a second of Fred Dude. 6/10 down on NASCAR fan. And Taris, fastest from the get-go, also did look like the fastest driver as they we saw, well, both in the first practice session, but also in the sprint race. He's not an Aussie, he's a Kiwi. He's a Kiwi. Of course. Discount Australian. I actually have to say, as a Dane, we feel a bit of a special connection to people from New Zealand. So we could also refer to the Kiwis, because the island on which the capital city of Denmark, it is Copenhagen, is located on an island, the most easterly island of Denmark. That actually isn't so, because never mind that. The biggest island of Denmark, where Copenhagen is located, where I in turn live, is called Zealand. So New Zealand, there had to be some Danes there at some point, I guess. Oh, Red Stars is New Zealand, White Stars is Aussie. That's really hard to see on. It is possible to see on on the list with the flags, but it's. I mean, you tell me the difference between the Flash and Drifter. I do see the darker shades on the Flash flag than on Drifters, but I think I'm excused for not being able to tell the difference completely. And Wake has joined the lobby. So let's see what kind of pace he can bring to the table here. And Freddy, that's what I've heard as well. This is one of the reasons I'd love to go to New Zealand. I'd be much happier to go to New Zealand, I think. Not that of course I wouldn't mind going to Australia as well, but they do have some creepy crawly stuff living there. Plus New Zealand, the nature, the scenery. It is, at least from what I've seen, because obviously I haven't been there, but it does so look like a stunning place, and a place that you should definitely go travel to if you ever get the chance, because that's some stuff you don't really find other places on the planet. I would think perhaps some places in Asia, like maybe some parts of China or Vietnam, could have some kind of scenery that is reminiscent of it. I guess you could find it in Africa too. What I'm saying is basically, you don't find that stuff in Europe. Oh, there's a lot of lagging in behind. Here you're listening to a white European male complaining about the scenery not being beautiful in Europe. Hashtag first world problems. Yes, Maverick, as in the song by Toto, I guess it rains down in Africa. Hey, Alex, it's you who... Is it Alex? No, is Alex? No, Alex is the dinosaur from Tekken, that's true, from Tekken 2. I thought about Roger as the kangaroo, that's true. It must be... You should be named Roger, Alex. It would be fucking great. You have a... I know you're a dinosaur, but you have a kangaroo bro who know all the same moves. Fighting game. Watching Antares go around. He's now almost 8 tenths up on the time set by CJ. That certainly is impressive. Oh, as it's Fred dude, who finds himself, after being in the wall, almost getting in the way of Antares. Peggy 18, indeed. The scenery in Britain is stunning, and to be fair, the scenery in mainland Europe, what am I talking about? If you go to Spain or to Italy or to Portugal or to most parts of Balkan or the Eastern Europe, have wonderful scenery. If you go to Sweden, you have some wonderful scenery. If you go to Norway, you have some stunning scenery with the fjords and stuff. So it's just... Actually, it all comes down to the part that I come from Denmark, which is one of the flatter countries in the world. I think only Holland or the Netherlands is flatter. Maverick, tired of seeing Bush. It's just... Yeah, you say that, Freddy, but the biggest mountain in Denmark is a glorified hill that's 4 or 5 times less high than what you have in Great Britain. So, yeah. We have a highest point in Denmark that's 178 meters above sea level. If I'm not completely mistaken. It's just around there, I'm quite sure. We have a hill in Denmark called Himmelbjerget, which directly translate into the, well, either Mount Heaven, but it's more into like the Mount Sky or the Sky Mountain, or it's just a hill that stretches 160 meters up into the air. Phil. Phil breaking the Peggy 18 for real. Oh, look at this. GT Racer 22 has really found some pace. Fred Dude still fastest with the 146.6. But I think Fred was forced to leave, or he might be trying to fix his lagging issues. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, between the runners now currently running in the GT 500 class, well, it's all quite close because it's 2.5 tenths of a second between NASCAR fan and GT Racer, and then just a further 2 seconds down to the Flash Street King, although a little bit further down in his NSX, not really able to get to terms, I think, with the car. Very slidey through the Castro triangle here. Vibe. And ladies and gents, feel free to hit the like button if you like what we do here on Half the Race Gone. It certainly does help attract even more of you lovely viewers. There are sometimes just a word that just doesn't want to get out my mouth. Then all of a sudden that thing about Danish sounding like we all have a potato in our mouth, it comes true. And I find myself with a big potato in my mouth all of a sudden. My muse. Oh, that's a good question to Google. That's gonna get you a brilliant list of interesting answers, many of them in pictures. Yeah, make sure you turn off tracking first, otherwise you're gonna have some very interesting ads popping up. Your general internet browser is gonna be considered not safe for work, probably. I'm quite sure, at least. We haven't seen Angel on track for this session yet. The Fred Dude is back in the action, although still lagging. I guess incognito mode would do it as well. There is the livery of Wake. Is that some kind of... Oh, that's some massive warp speeding. Look at this. I think either Wake is driving around very slowly right now, or the warp speeding is very real, and we're gonna see... yep, there it is! Oh, Wake. How does your internet manage to do this? It's like practically only you and Fred. As we can see, Belgians, the Belgians haven't, they just don't know how to do internet. But with that said, Fred Dude improves upon his time from last time around, and he's now just 19 thousandths of a second up on Fred Dude. Or has it just managed to engage? Just managed to engage the stream for a second. That lag certainly is The wormhole, the Suzuka wormhole getting sucked. Getting the big zook into the barriers. They managed to do a simultaneous disconnect. Well, there must be something about it then. Or at least the connection between Belgium and Denmark. I mean, I don't know why. It's kind of strange. But, I mean, warp speed wake doesn't come out of nowhere. And it's because we've seen it before. And as I also mentioned, it's always a shame because it really ruins actually being able to follow that particular car. So we don't really get... I mean, it's a comical laugh following it around for a moment or it goes out of it and all you're left with is the lap time data. And then somewhere in Belgium, some driver is sitting there going around the track perfectly normal. Oh, Antares gets a little wide as NASCAR fan goes up the inside and goes up through Dunlop corner. Certainly one of the difficult places to get it right. Although they did manage just to do so that time around. And one thing I can really say is that this session, watching this session, certainly hasn't given me less appetite for next week's season opener for this series, the VRR Super GT, and it's the 6th running season. Of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream as well, VRR being one of the, well, both biggest and longest running organizers of league racing on GT Planet. And with 6 seasons, these are massive seasons, long races, and it's not like it's the only thing going on with VRR. I mean, VRR has 2 divisions of racing that spans from touring cars, open wheelers, to an endurance series with LMPs and GTEs, as well as this Super GT series. So it is Bush comeback. Oh no, don't make it a Bush comeback. Are we talking about a third Bush? Jeb? I'm gonna have Jeb. Guess he's better than Tronald Dump. But anything's better than Tronald Dump. How many races make up a season? That's actually a really good question, Phil. I think it's 8, if I'm not completely mistaken. 8 or 10. It's 10 rounds, and they're spread a little out, so they're not just in 10 weeks, because there are some weeks where the organizers found that we were not able to race. So in turn, 10 races. I do have the GT Planet thread open to look up any info I need on the go. My problem is that I'm sitting with a very old, very painfully slow laptop that even thinks the task of running 3 windows in an internet browser is probably a window or 2 too much for it to really handle it quickly. So when I want to jump to the other window, it often leaves me with a 5-8 second loading time with a white screen in between. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, gotta love that old PC. But it's living still, and it's enabling me to actually read chat on something that's bigger than a cell phone or a smartphone. Cell phone, I'm 45-year-old and I'm using a cell phone. It's a big Motorola and it's the size of a brick and it has a big antenna on top. I got it because it was smarter than that suitcase cell phone I had before. Like when I drove I don't know what that model here. I drove a 1980s Porsche 911 Turbo. Man, that's stuff already. Excuse me for that, ladies and gentlemen. And should you be in doubt, you are of course watching have the race gone. You're tuned in to the VRR Super GT Season 6 pre-season test session from Suzuka. It is the big preview as to what's to come, starting next weekend already, May the 18th. That is next Saturday, and will be live for the entire event next week right here on the channel. And cliche, enjoy it, cherish those moments, and I'd love to. We'll just have to figure out when that's gonna happen. And enjoy your weekend, and I hope to see you soon. We'll be broadcasting actually tomorrow and on Monday and on Tuesday as well, so plenty of opportunities for us to catch up soon. So see you around, and take care, mate. Still watching NASCAR fan. Oh, there's a new cat in town. It's Kiwi the Flash, who's put himself on top spot in the GT 500s, just shy of a tenth of a second in front of Fred Dude, who still is in front of NASCAR fan by just 18 thousandths of a second. And then Wakesy with the warp speed, well, he's also in turn under 3/10 of a second down on the class leader. To make it all even better, actually, we have 5 GT 500 cars within half a second at the moment. That is some good stuff indeed. Big slide for a GT racer. There's actually 2 cars that we just having so much trouble actually getting proper footage of here. Wake and Fred Dude, the 2 Belgians. Here a NASCAR fan goes quickest yet again. Seems determined to come out on top of this preseason test event. Has really been tanking up with the confidence, filling up the confidence meter today. Although it is much closer in this session than it was in the first one, that much has to be said. And so far in the 300s, well, it is CJ on top of things at the moment. But it's within a tenth between him and Antares. And then there's a good bit of time down to the EH team drifter, and we've had Angel, but Angel's just joined us. He's not put in a flying lap yet. It's going to be the first one in the Cherry Cola GT 500 Nissan. So 7 GT 500 machines running at the moment. And alright, Phil. And you take care of yourself as well. And yeah, well, I hope to see you tomorrow. That would of course be be great. But yeah, good night to Mr. Denti. Still watching CJ go around. It's still very close between him and Antares. Just that half a tenth a second in it. And generally, within the top runners, it is very, very close. Look at the line for Antares through 130R. It's impressive. Putting it right to the limit of how far you can go on the curve without actually losing grip. Though it seems Antares has had some kind of mistake on this lap. 3.5 seconds down. Fred Dude, fastest with a 1:46.2 at the moment. So having bettered NASCAR fan yet again. I'm wondering, it looks more warpy. Yeah, exactly. You just see when there's no sort of input or wish to... Oh, oh my god. That Belgian lag, I don't know what's causing it. It's strange, to say the least. Here, that live timing overview. As you see, Flash Sweden's not really put in too many laps. And then that close GT 500 top 5 at the moment. Impressive stuff indeed. Oh, as Fred Dude creeps into the 45s for the first time this session, and ups the ante yet again, and now it's time for everybody else to follow troop. Having a look with Street King 07. And this is of course an outlap. He's following Angel and Antares as well. Angel makes her way around before turn 1, and that's gonna be good for her because it's not gonna impede her lap at all. And for Street King, it's just gonna be an exercise in patience up through the S's, trying to line it up to get well around Antares. I'm not sure on that exit there was the fastest way to do it. Certainly hampered Antares' line through there. Someone went wide, but that's not anyone. That's just wake warp speeding around. Pit stop for NASCAR fan. Half a tank of fuel left here at this time. Also possibly quite interesting. Just a little bit of fueling going in, leading with 69% of fuel still. Antares has improved quite massively. He's now almost well, he's improved by half a second, and that means he's up by, well, almost that half a second on CJ's time now. And, well, for me, I am going to have to call it a night soon, because I do have to do some preparational stuff for my cycling commentary gig tomorrow. First of all, I have to get up extremely early, and I have to ride all the way out there, so I have to be some sort of fresh physically, but also do have to do some prep work here before, and that means I'm going to have to leave you on this note. Of course, I was counting on this to be an hour earlier than I did, so my miscalculations really hurting me in this other end of things now. But I hope you have enjoyed this preview of what's to come in the VRR. And personally, I want to say salutations and thanks to Angel for wanting to work together with us in this one, and actually wanting us to broadcast the series. It's a great pleasure, and I hope you also enjoy the show. I certainly hope you're going to be tuning in at least for next week's season opener, which is going to be a grand show indeed. Of course, as I mentioned before, we're going to be back tomorrow for the NES Desert Duel Challenge. I was close to saying Mountain King, that's not true. We're going to be racing Group 4 cars at Willow Springs tomorrow for 40 laps. We're going to be back at Monday with the Audi TT Cup showdown by Dr. Hash and Shaza. And we're going to be back on Tuesday as well, of course, with the TSR Super Formula season finale. So do tune in to, with, if not to all of these occasions, then at least do tune in to one of them. And well, for myself, DirtenDK, from us here at Half the Race Gone, and the staff as well at VRR, we have been so glad to have you along here for tonight. It's been a great pleasure. Do tune in and go along again. I am getting very tired here, as you can hear by now. But anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna call it an end for tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.